On the Sabbath day, we went outside by the gate, by the river. Where we supposed there was a place of prayer. And we sat down and we spoke to the women who were gathered there. A certain woman named Lydia, a worshiper of God, was listening to us. She was from the city of Thyatira and a dealer of purple cloth. The Lord opened her heart to listen eagerly to what was being said by Paul. When she and her household were baptized, she urged us, saying, "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come and stay at my house." And she prevailed upon us. For the word of God in us, with us, and through us, thanks be to God. She prevailed upon us. There's not many people that prevail upon Paul in the stories of his journey. He's usually pretty much in charge. But here we have Lydia who prevailed upon us. So this just sets us up to explore Lydia. Paul wasn't looking for Lydia, if you might recall what I said before, which is Paul is looking for a man. He's looking for a man from Macedonia, and then he shows up, and like that dude is not anywhere to be found. It is not working in the city gates. He's not getting anywhere. And so then he goes down by the river where he supposes there is a place of prayer. So folks must know that there is this place of prayer, and there are women gathered there. They have already made their own church. I don't know if it's because they got fed up with the mansplaining in the temple, all the temples. I don't know if it's because they didn't need a roof or marble columns or anything to contain their faith and spirituality, and they just wanted to be together by the river with one another. Maybe it was all the medicine these women needed to get through life together. So here they are by the river. Paul and his cohort come on down to the river to pray, and while they are there, they encountered this group of women, and a conversation must erupt and emerge. There are questions, there are curiosities, there's listening, there's exchange. They don't put all of that in the ink, but we can imagine what it would be like if we were in this space. And then Lydia ends the story with baptism and building a whole church. A whole church community which kind of already existed. Lydia and Paul create this community together, and guess what? Paul never has to send her an email about behaving badly. He never has to tell them, "Hey, remember, don't eat communion before everybody has gotten there." He never has to say, "Hey, y'all, this is a mistake. Think about what you're doing." He doesn't have to write them a poem about love because they are living it already. So what do we know about Lydia? Lydia, it says, is a dealer of purple cloth. I don't know. We might think she runs a craft store, and that's really cute. But when we're talking about Lydia in this city that's on the southern edge of Europe, this is the first kind of Christianity in the European context that doesn't come by force or threat under Roman colonization. It is a community that emerges organically. And so here they are in this coastal community where a bunch of retired army folks from Rome are settled with all their pensions and their money. So Lydia is a dealer of purple cloth. It's like Lydia deals with wealthy folks. It is like she has a Jaguar dealership. She may have to know the plural for Lexus, which I've decided is Lexi, which I've only needed when I lived at SMU, and you could really tell who was there for seminary and who was not. Lydia is not dealing with a bunch of Chevys and Fords that are almost maybe making it to class. Lydia is dealing with folks who have extreme wealth compared to the community around them. She is a businesswoman in a time when that seems almost impossible. In a lot of ways, it's a challenge and almost impossible today, 2,000 years later. But Lydia is a dealer of purple cloth who holds her own in this Roman colony filled with rich army retired guys. She has found this community. She has woven this community together to be well, to be whole, to be with each other. The other thing we know about Lydia is that she is a worshiper of God. You may already remember this from when we talked about Cornelius, but worshiper of God doesn't just, it's not like a random adjective. It means something to the people that would have been reading Acts long before us, which is she's not ethnically Jewish. She's not part of this tribal community, but she finds wisdom and something that invites her spirit to feel full and awake when she hears the songs in the Psalms, or when she reads the prophets, or when she echoes the poetry, or when she hears the stories of Ruth and Naomi, of Abraham and Sarai. And so she finds something that is bigger than herself, bigger than identity in one particular tribe or location or community. And so here she is at the river with this woven together community, and she hears this conversation about the way Jesus follows Judaism. And now she's included. Now she is welcome. This weaves them together in a new way. She drinks it in, she pulls it in, she draws folks together in this space. Lydia, through relationships, through presence, brings the skills and the gifts that she has to draw people into community. Our tradition emerges through this organic interweaving of people. Our tradition is this faith that is about practice and relationships and being present and showing up, much more than it was ever about memorizing a creed or reciting something by heart. It is living by heart. Which is why it can get awkward and a little hard, especially maybe still. It's why it's hard to get to know each other, because getting to know each other makes us vulnerable, and it can make us nervous. And we can run into relationships that we didn't know how we could deal with them, things that hurt and things we're unsure about. Kat Velos tells the story of a woman who lives in community, who had always lived in a communal home. And it's not all singing songs around a campfire. They have intentional times together, intentional meals together. They have roommate agreements, just like Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory. They have all of these things, probably more lenient than Sheldon's, but they have ways of being together. She says they instigate each other's creativity, and that all of this work helps them grow. Jeannie says to Kat, you have to ask yourself, what is my life for? Is my life about consuming resources and having whatever I want? Or is my life a gift to the world? She encourages people to say to themselves, I was born as a gift. How am I sharing that gift? I was born as a gift. How am I sharing that gift? To those that don't know their gifts or how to share them, she quotes Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do it, because the world needs people who have come alive. What brings you to life? What brings you joy? Go connect with people from that place. There's your community. That place of love is your higher place. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. Ask what brings you into that creative place and get comfortable with yourself. It's taken me a long time, and I'm in a pretty good place 95% of the time. It's taken me a long time to weave together a basket of community. It takes time to find your people, to experiment, to get to know yourself. All these different people are opportunities. It helps you as a sounding board for discovering your truth. A lot of times you find your truth by finding what is not your truth. If you look at the school, at life as a school, it is a lot easier. Every relationship, every community, it is all possibilities of learning. She names how this work of getting to know people really requires you to know yourself. And that is challenging. I don't know that our structures help us try to know ourselves very well, to what feels good or right or life-giving, or when we need to be out with people, or maybe we've had too much. We know these things by brushing into them, by making mistakes, by claiming it for ourselves. Jeannie says it's not required to live in community, like in an actual community living situation. But there are all kinds of ways that we can connect to folks with intention, with care, with our own growth. The thing that she says probably is a big challenge to us is we are drawn to perfection. We like things to be perfect. We like ourselves to be perfect. We'd like it if other people understood exactly what we wanted perfectly without us even having to say it out loud. And just being a human or even being in church can get awkward. People are awkward. We are awkward. Even the smoothest among us have probably had awkward moments. And so she says we need to embrace the awkward. Embrace what is unsure and vulnerable and uncertain, and to do that, start asking better questions. Questions that elicit more than fine. When Lila started school, there was a blog post about how to talk to your kid after school. Instead of saying, "How was school?" and getting fine, she said, "Did anyone make you laugh today? Who did you sit by at lunch? What was the hardest thing you did? Or what was your favorite subject?" And allowing space for people to think about it and process it. Being open. Velos has a list, like pages and pages and pages and pages of lists of good questions. Something other than, "Hey, what do you do?" Or, "Hey, are you married?" Or, "Hey, I don't know what else. How are you?" "Fine." She says, "What's a memory that you really love? Has a book ever changed your life? What is it? What was your first job? What's a music memory you have? What's the favorite comfort food? Have you ever been naked in public?" I just wanted you to keep awake. She says, let's get curious and interested in others. Let's open our hearts to those questions, to ask them and to listen to them. To not focus on curiosity just about ourselves, but on community, that we can weave something together. To not assume who we're looking for and looking past who we might find, but to really build something, to weave all across together. May it be so. Amen.